Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Basics, exploring electives and extracurriculars in high school. I'm Dachelle McVey, and I'm going to help you explore ways to add electives and some extracurriculars to your teen's high school education. So let's get started. First, make sure and grab your workbook that goes along with this workshop. You can download it at www.hithechocolate.com/electives. So today we'll be talking about these four things. First, we're going to talk about personalizing education. Then we're going to talk about how to design electives and extracurriculars around student interest. Thirdly, we're going to talk about community engagement and group learning. And fourth, we're going to talk about building independence and engagement. So, like I mentioned, I'm Dachelle McVey. I am the owner and writer of Hide the Chocolate, where I share about our relaxed Charlotte Mason homeschool. I am also the owner and publisher at Literary Adventures for Kids, where we help students to dig deeper into great literature through rabbit trails and hands on connections to the book. I am also the mom of three. I currently have two in college and one in high school. I'm a former high school teacher, and based on the fact that I own a literature curriculum company, you may have guessed that I'm a book addict, just a little bit. And based on the fact that I named my blog Hide the Chocolate, I'm a bit of a chocolate junkie. Nutella to be my favorite. So let's start with a quote from B.B. King. The beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. And I think this quote perfectly captures the essence of what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to explore how to enrich your teen's homeschool experience with electives and extracurricular activities that really get them excited and ignite their passion for learning and make them want to be lifelong learners. So no one can take that away from them. So let's start by talking about personalizing education. And we're going to do that with starting with student interest. So, what is your teen's interest? What are that gets them excited? So, first thing you want to do is you want to. I know it seems pretty basic, but you want to ask them. So, it's important to engage your teen in discussions, and we want to determine what they're passionate about and how these interests can, shape their education. But remember, this is not your education; it's theirs. Okay, so allow them to take some ownership of it. If you do this, it'll get them excited and help them to be invested in their future. So the second step, also pretty basic, is when you ask a question, listen. So actually listen to what their interests are. It's important. If a subject already fascinates your team, then this interest is going to fuel their motivation to complete assignments and projects. They're going to, by tailoring their education, it's going to make their interest, it's going to make learning more enjoyable, more effective, more fun. Think about that. You get excited when there's something that you're interested in. And third, we're talking about research. So in the research part, this means help them to research and discover what electives and extracurricular options there are that are available. And this can be a collaborative effort. This doesn't mean you researching or them researching, but you can do it together. So work together to discover what options are out there. The next part of personalizing education is a requirement. So it's crucial to understand what your state's graduation requirements are and how they can be personalized. So you want to research what your state mandates and how you can creatively fulfill those requirements. So, for example, you're looking at my state's requirements. If your state requires 4 years of language arts and that's it, they don't specify anything else, then you can really do whatever interests your student. So that could be an entire year on American literature, or it could be an entire year just in poetry, or Shakespeare, or dystopian literature. For example, this year, Literary Adventures for Kids is doing an entire year of modern lit. So it's going to be all current books that were written by current authors. So you may not have to use one of your electives. You can actually use one of these courses that they want to do or one of the things that they want to do as one of your requirements and save up those electives. For example, for us, we only have 3 credit electives there, but we have 4 language arts we really need to fill. So you can count that for your requirement. My daughter, my youngest right now, she has dance classes. So we found that we can count that as a fine arts P or a PE credit, either one, but it can work for one of her requirements. Also think about, is there a way you can combine things? So for example, maybe it requires 2 years of world history. So you can organize that in a certain way, like ancient or modern, or maybe even a Japanese unit study. I know my child was really interested in Japanese culture, and so we created this world lit type of geography course all about Japanese um, culture and geography and history, and she loved that. So consider a course that you can combine things. Like my daughter was really into medicine. So we did like a history of medicine. So we had a history, but it was also on a topic that's something that she really enjoyed. Another one that she did was the art of medieval period. So she was an artist. This is my other child. She was an artist and she loved drawing and painting those things. But we combined that with the art of medieval history, and that became two different subjects combined together there. Also, when we're talking about requirements, think about what your child is going to be doing in the future. So, if they're college bound, then just check with the colleges they're interested in to understand what the requirements are. So, each college has different requirements. A lot of them have some of the basic same things, but they'll have different requirements. So, just look at those and see what they might have that they need. It may not be something that's actually required by your state. The same goes for technical schools. Just check with them to see what courses they'd like for a student to have before attending. It might not be a requirement, but it might be something that'd be helpful. And maybe your child isn't going to college or technical school. Maybe they're going to be doing something different. They possibly could be taking over a family business, or maybe they're going to create their own venture or something like that. So, what electives or extracurriculars might help them to reach this goal? Okay, so now we're going to design our electives and our extracurriculars around these interests we've found out about. So, start by deciding on a subject that excites your teen. Okay, so we've talked about what's interesting. Let's go further, let's dig in there. And now we want to create this course. So, I always say start with a spine, and you can start with any kind of spine you want. It could be a history book, an art book, a technical manual. I know for a lot of our courses, we've pulled from OpenStax, which has free college textbooks that you can use those as a spine to build on. At Literary Ventures for Kids, we do them around novels. So you may take a book like To Kill a Mockingbird and you write an entire unit study around that, and you have your grammar and your history and all the things that literary elements, writing projects all around that one book. We've even done an entire course, an extracurricular around a trip we were going on. So we went to England and we had an entire course about English history and geography and things like that that we were able to pull in there. So think about how you can create this elective course. Project-based learning is also an excellent way to get your team to really dig deeply into a subject. So by working on extended projects, they can explore topics really in depth. And this develops critical thinking skills and also helps them to apply their knowledge in very practical ways. So let's talk about what kind of project-based learning am I referring to? So there's all sorts of different things. Um, I think we probably all go to maybe like a science project, so they could maybe things like design and conduct experiments on topics that they find are interesting or fascinating. They can document their process, they can analyze the results, and then they present their findings. For example, they could maybe explore renewable energy by building solar powered devices or even studying the effects of different variables and things on plant growth. So those are some ideas for science-based project learning, but we can also do things like history-based project learning. So they could research a historical event or figure, or create some kind of detailed presentation or exhibit. I mean, they could even create a multimedia project or even develop even a documentary film. And this will help them to learn, about the past while also honing some of those really good research skills. Obviously, literature is a big deal to me. So literature products. So you could let literature projects. You can let your team choose a novel or even an author, and they could create an entire project around this. So they might write a sequel or a prequel to a book, or maybe they could adapt their story into some kind of play or screenplay, or create artwork inspired by the book. So this not only deepens their understanding of the literature, but also allows them to express their creativity in ways. Which leads me to art projects. So if your teen is passionate about art, we'll encourage them to take that onto a larger scale and a project that may be a mural or a sculpture or even a series of artwork, like paintings or things like that. And they can explore different techniques and mediums. They can document the process like they did in the science project. And they can even hold an exhibition to showcase their work at the end. Another way this is a really great way to, almost like project based learning, but it's incorporating regular physical activities and wellness practices into your curriculum. So this is fabulous because it's not only promoting physical health, but it's also promoting mental health. And this can even count as a credits too. So it's a win-win situation here. So you can do things like encourage things like running and swimming, martial arts. These activities can help build endurance and strength and flexibility, but they also help reduce stress. Like I mentioned, I have one of my kids is does dance, and so we're able to incorporate that into our curriculum. Another thing is team sports. So your child may want to participate in a team sport like basketball or soccer or volleyball, even baseball. And these can teach teamwork while also teaching discipline and strategic thinking. So you can look for local leagues where your team can join a team and help develop those skills. So I personally have two kids who have been on the local homeschool archery team for many years. It's a great extracurricular that can also double as a required course. Lots of times there'll be private schools, smaller schools that'll allow homeschoolers to join. We have one in our area that allows homeschoolers to be on their teams. So in some places, public schools will allow it. A lot of times that will require a tryout. So remember that you want to contact the local coaches and see if they have tryouts and if they'll allow homeschoolers to try out. Wellness practices. So just introducing wellness practices like regular exercise and nutrition education are really important. These practices can really help teens to manage stress and improve on focus and really develop those healthy habits that really they need for a lifetime. This year, my youngest was spent the entire year creating her own nutrition course. She created weekly meal plans. She learned to track what she was consuming. It really opened her eyes about what she was putting into her body and how it affected the way she felt. Also, she was tracking her exercise and how she felt before and after exercise. So this was really a great way for her to see a project kind of in practice around physical education and wellness activities. So, encouraging your teen to participate in competitions and fairs can give them valuable experience, and they can be recognized for all their work and efforts. It's a wonderful thing if your teen's interested in this. So, some academic competitions might be like math, science, literature competitions. They can be local, they can be regional or national contests, things like science fairs, math Olympiads, spelling bees. We have a local kid who has made it all the way, I believe, to nationals with a spelling bee competition. Art and music competitions, so you can encourage your teen to enter an art show or maybe a music contest. Or like I said, with my daughter with dance, she does recitals, plays, drama competitions, those type of things. These give them the opportunity to showcase their talents. Like I said, my dance loving daughter has been in plenty of recitals. She's like since she was 4 years old. And because of this, she really doesn't have a fear of performing in front of an audience. That doesn't mean she doesn't get stressed beforehand, but that initial fear is pretty well gone because of that. But there's other things like technology and robotic competitions. If your teen is interested in technology, those robotic competitions or coding challenges would be great for them. They can inspire like innovation and technical skills. So these are some ways you can design electives and extracurriculars around their interest. Now we're going to move on to community engagement and group learning. So we're going to start with enrichment classes, and this one is near and dear to my heart because I've started many of these actually. So collaborate with other homeschool parents to combine your community resources and provide more diverse learning opportunities. For example, if you have different parents with different talents, they can take up some of that slack in areas that you might be struggling with. For us, we created a community book club. So we're getting our teens excited for reading, and we select books that interest the teens. We organize discussions, encourage critical thinking. We'll throw in some arts and crafts in there, and you have a big social win for your kids, and honestly for you too, because it's kind of fun hanging out with the parents too. So enrichment classes, either if you find some, join them, or create your own. Those are great. You can explore careers through internships. So you can use extracurricular activities as a bridge to career exploration. So help your teen find internships or volunteer positions that align with their interest. This can help them see if their dream career is actually something they really want to do. And it's very helpful. Hey, let's stop this before we get 2 years into college and decide we hate that idea. Community service projects. Oh, this is wonderful. I love this because this one is where you're teaching your teens to have empathy and to look around them and to see needs and help people. So you want to help your teen to identify some needs in your community, or and maybe even develop a project to address it. This can involve something as simple as a local cleanup or starting a community garden. We've done that before. That was great. We did it right outside the one of the retirement slash nursing home type places. So it was great for the elderly people to come out and work with the kids. They could create awareness campaigns on important issues. So this type of project really teaches responsibility, empathy, and leadership. Another great way is through civic engagement. So this can encourage your child to participate in debates and public speaking contests and community leadership groups. We have one, I can't remember what it's called, but something leadership. And they actually just asked my daughter to join it the other day. And it's an interesting thing because they go around and they learn about the government of our county and our town, and they get to participate in a lot of things like that and learn about civic engagement. So these activities can really help develop leadership skills and a sense of civic responsibility. Okay, so now let's talk about how to build independence and engagement. We're going to start with teaching and learning methods. So think about your well, this is pretty more your elective, but how is this going to be led? Is it going to be parent led? Remember, if it's parent led, you're not the role of a lecturer. You're not teaching this class. You're a facilitator. You're helping them. Or this could be an independent learning experience. So they could be doing this on their own. Or it can be even an outside lab, co-op, group study. Remember, I mentioned that we meet once a month in our enrichment group, and it gives us time to meet and discuss their studies and collaborate on group projects. It changes every year, basically what we do. But there's a lot of great ways to for us to get together as a group. So whether it's parent-led, independent learning, or external classes, just choose the method that works best for your teen, or maybe even a combination of these, and encourage them to take responsibility for their learning. Remember, it's theirs, not yours. Okay, so the second part of building independence engagement is to talk about the course structure. So you need to decide how long it's going to last. Does it constitute credit? Whatever. Most of the time you're going to see something for a year or semester, but you can do quarters, even multiple years. Like I said, it literally enriches for kids. All of our curriculum is based around a month of a book. So we take a book and we spend a month in it. So, think about that. It could be 8 to 10 months, or it could be 180 days. That's what it is in our state. It could be so many hours, or it could just be when you complete a certain text or a certain project or things like that. So how long is it going to be, and what type of credit are you going to give to it? What type of, how are you going to settle on that? Okay. The assessment part is the part I know everybody gets stressed about. Don't get stressed about it. Really, this is not where you need to worry. So you just need to decide how you're going to assess their work and kind of stick to that. Try not to mix it up too much, change it. And this is why, because you want to give them this, they know what's going to happen, what the results are from the beginning. It's not going to be a surprise to them how you're going to grade them. Same for you. No surprises. We know in the beginning how we're going to do this. They know, hey, when they complete this task, that they get a grade, or when they take these tests, they get a grade, or when they complete this project, they get a grade. So you can kind of decide how you're going to do that. But if it's a math class, mostly it's going to be something like tests and quizzes. But other subjects, you could do research papers, you could do a final presentation, you could do narration. I mean, you could really do all of these, combine them together. So just decide in the beginning how you're going to assess your child for their grade so that they don't seem a little caught up and confused at the end. Okay, final tips. That's pretty much everything so far. Trust your teen to take ownership of their education. Okay, you need to help them set limits and do not micromanage. Your teen is about to go out into the world on their own. They're not going to have you with them there. They're not going to have you saying, it's time to wake up, you got to do this, or it's time to get your project done, or it's time to blah, blah, blah. So don't micromanage. Yes, you're still there to help them and to communicate with them and give them guidance, but you don't want to be into the details. This is when we're letting our child become independent. They're going to become an independent learner and an independent person, and they need to learn to do that now while they're in your house, as opposed to when they're outside your house and they're having to figure it out in a really hard way. And also, keep in mind, it's okay if they don't like the course. If they get into it and they just said, ugh, I hate this, because we say this all the time at book club, it's okay if you hate the book, but you got to experience it, and the goal is to make learning enjoyable and meaningful, even if it means you discover, I'm not such a fan of science or whatever it is. But mostly, I want you to realize that education is all around you. It is not just in a textbook, it is all around you, and you can discover it in many different ways. So I want to thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. My email is Dachelle at hidethechocolate.com. You can find me, and like I said, at hidethechocolate.com or literaryaventuresforkids.com. You can find me on Facebook at both of those, or on Instagram for both of those, and on TikTok for Hide the Chocolate. But I also wanted to introduce you to our membership program, the Society of Literary Adventures. It is designed specifically just for teens to give them independence to choose books they're interested in, and it really so they can create their own language arts curriculum. So we have dozens of books in there that all are a month of language arts. They can pick one, and that can be their month of language arts, and they can keep picking them and deciding what they want to do, and then kind of create their own language arts curriculum. So you're giving them that independence that we talked about. You're giving them the ability to pick things that they like and are interested in. And it's a great way to foster a love for reading and to develop those critical thinking skills. But don't take my word for it. Grab a free course. I'm a firm believer in test before you buy. So test this out. You can go to hidethechocolate.com/free, or if you can scan that little QR code up there in the top, it will take you to our free courses. The Call of the Wild is the high school course. Grab that, check it out, see if it's something your teen might be interested in. If not, hey, you haven't lost anything. And if so, I will be glad to have you join us. Thank you for joining me for my talk.